So I've been going on a lot of listing presentations, and usually during the listing presentation, I look over at one of my agents and I'm like, okay, so what else are we missing? What else should we tell these sellers? And it's silly, like, why don't we just get organized? So today, I'm gonna share with you the top 12 things that you should know if you're a seller before you even put your house on the market. Now, these are the same 12 questions that I'm gonna be sitting down with my own home sellers before we put their house on the market and making sure I know the answer to all of these. So if you are an agent, I highly recommend that you download this and ask your own home sellers to fill this out. You'll thank me later. And for you home sellers, if you're working with agents who aren't asking you these questions, you should just fill this out. Fill it out, back lead, give it to them, because really it should be a collaborative effort when you're listing your home. The listing agent and the home seller to work together, unified front. Present the house in its best light. So a common mistake I see over and over again is listing agents will rely on data from a previous listing in the neighborhood. And when they go to list your home, they just take your neighbor's information from their listing and input it. So it could be things like homeowners association amounts or a special assessment that they didn't put in correctly. You guys, you have to put in the proper information in MLS. If not, it's misleading and your buyer will get really, really upset if they find any errors. So please spend the time and fill this out. It saves everybody a lot of time, energy, and hassle. Okay, number one is you need to verify the homeowners association name, and you need to find out who that management company is. We need a phone number, and we need to know how often those dues are reoccurring. Are they monthly? Are they quarterly? Are they annually? And a lot of you have more than one HOA. So all that needs to be verified before you put your house on the market. Okay, this is a big one because I've had buyers come to me and say, hey, I can qualify for X amount, but my HOA dues can only be this amount or I don't qualify. So we'll go scour all the inventory out there. We find the perfect house. Everything's in alignment. And then we get under contract. And then lo and behold, the HOA dues were higher than what was listed in MLS because then, knucklehead agent didn't verify the HOA dues with the homeowner. So don't take this lightly. This is a really important one. And if there's any special assessments, make sure you disclose that to your agent as well. Okay, number two, this comes up all the time. What is the homeowner's average water, gas, electric, trash bill? Okay, not only what are the average amounts, but who are the carriers? Like, who's the gas company? Who's the electric company? So before you put your house on the market, make sure you put that down for the agent. They may not be familiar with the utilities, and sometimes buyers just don't want to deal with certain utility companies. So for example, in my area, we have SDG&E, and they're just absolutely the biggest ripoff. I don't even care if I get in trouble for saying that. It's ripoff, ripoff, ripoff. So a lot of these buyers want to know that information. So go write your utility information down and your averages for each one of those utility bills. Number three, who is your home insurance carrier? Now, I know a lot of you are like, Audra, my home insurance company, they aren't insuring in this area. They're not binding any more policies in my zip code. And you're probably right. But still, you can't help but try. So give your listing agent the name of your insurance company and the contact information, and also provide any insurance claims details if you do have a claim on your property, especially if it's significant. You want to make sure your buyer understands the scope of the repair. You don't want to have this conversation at the end of contingencies. This is something you want to address ahead of time. Now, I don't know if you guys are watching the news. Oh my goodness. But in California, we have these fires that are raging and they're devastating people's homes and their lives. It's just, I can't even talk about it. I'm so upset about it. But you also have to know that during a fire, that we cannot close typically on a property until that fire has been completely contained. Insurance companies will not bind premiums unless the fire is completely contained. So right now, it's very hard to sell a home in California. Number four, okay, I don't want to be tacky, don't want to be inappropriate, but your listing agent does need to know the answer to this question. And that is, has there ever been any deaths on the property? And the next question is going to be, if the answer is yes, is, was it a peaceful death? Was it not a peaceful death? And if it's not a peaceful death, we might need to ask a little bit more questions. So if you are a home seller that is like in that situation where there has been a death on the property, you need to make sure your agent knows about it up front. Once again, you need to over disclose, and it's better to get ahead of this ahead of time than waiting, a long time down the transaction. Number five, if you have a pool, more than likely your buyer is going to be asking questions like, when was the motor changed, and was it resealed, and did you ever have any leaks? So you need to provide that information to your listing agent up front. And the question I always get, which I forget to ask every stinking time, is how deep is the pool? How deep is the pool? So if you don't know, jump in your pool, take a stick and whatever, measure it, because your buyers will want to know. Number 6 is inclusions and exclusions. So if you're a home seller, what are things that you want to include in the sale that are personal items, or what do you want to exclude that are personal items? Let me give you an example. So a washer and dryer is something that you should be talking with your listing agent on whether or not you want to leave it or if you want to take it. Another one is refrigerators. So a lot of you don't have those refrigerators that are built in. If your refrigerator is built in, it's considered a fixture and therefore it conveys with the property. But a lot of you have those refrigerators and even some ovens that pull off the wall and they're just plugged in. So you need to designate whether or not you want to take your fridge. Sometimes you have those refrigerators out in the garage. So do you want that to convey? Now, draperies and window treatments and lighting fixtures usually convey with the property because they're considered a fixture. Now, if you do want a chandelier and you want to take it because it's your grandma's chandelier or whatever, then you want to exclude that in the listing. However, if you do have a chandelier or some draperies or some things that you just know that you have to take with you, more than likely your buyer's going to want it. So I recommend that you just remove it so there's no argument. You need to sit down with your listing agent and you need to figure out what items you want to include or exclude in the sale of your home. All right, we got to talk about pots. I've had more headaches over these silly pots. Okay, so if you're selling your house, you need to make sure you're clear on what pots you want to convey with the house or not convey with the house. Now, the question is, the inside pots, Audra, or the outside pots? Both. In my purchase contract in California, there's a box that says all potted plants. Okay, well, does that mean indoor, outdoor? So the answer is make sure you're clear with your agent. And you need to write that in the contract and specify what pots convey and which don't. Trust me, you'll thank me later for this, especially if you love your plants as much as I love mine. They're like our little friends and our family members. So let's not forget about them. One more thing about the pots though, that if you do have pots that are outside and you want to take them with you, just remember that once you take those big, large pots with you, that more than likely there's some type of rim or some evidence that they were there. And your buyer might go through the final walkthrough and say, whoa, 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 I didn't know that was there. So just kind of think about that. I usually just leave the pots outside. I just don't like to mess with it. But you can do whatever you want. Just know that if you do take your pots, make sure there's no rim or any residue because your buyers may not like it. Number 7 is leased items on your property. This could be your water osmosis system. It could be your water softening system. It could be your leased solar panels, which is a big deal. If you have leased solar panels on your property, you need to run, not walk. You got to get this information ahead of time. You don't go open up a transaction and go, oh, let's go figure out the lease details of this solar panel. No. You're going to do it now, okay? Because it's a very timely process. And I cannot tell you how many transactions have been delayed because they can't transfer the leased solar panels over to the new buyer, okay? The new buyer has to qualify. It's a lengthy process and you need to get ahead of it. So if you are even contemplating selling your house and you have leased solar panels, get on it immediately. Understand the process. It's a cumbersome one. Okay, real quick, infomercial. It is 11:54 p.m. on my birthday. I'm trying to get this video out because I'm trying to make it to the desert to visit my friends. So please help a girl out. Subscribe to my channel. I'd forever be grateful. I'm trying to get to 100,000 subscribers and I need your help. Let's get back into it. Number 8 is plumbing issues. Have you had any plumbing issues on your property? Have you had any leaks? Have you had a pinhole leak? Has your house been repiped? Or have you had the epoxy coating done on your piping? All that needs to be disclosed to your agent. So if you had a repipe or even epoxy coating on your pipes, there's typically a warranty that can be transferable to the next home buyer. Once again, is a process and a fee, so you're going to want to get ahead of that ahead of time. And if you do have those things in place, meaning a repipe or a epoxy coating of the pipes, that's a great selling feature. So it's something that you do want to make sure your agent knows about. And if you don't have that and you had multiple leaks, well, it's better to make sure we disclose that to the buyer up front. Okay, we don't want to have that conversation, later down the road when, the contingencies are due because they get emotional. They're no longer in love with the property. So better to have those difficult conversations ahead of time. Number 9 Distinguishing features of your home. You know your home better than anyone else. You don't depend on your listing agent to know all the details. So do your homework and help them do their job. Write down all the things that you like about the property. I sat down with this one seller who just fired their agent and they said, you know, my listing agent just didn't get my home. I'm like, well, what didn't they get about your home? And they started naming all these things about the house. I'm like, well, did they know about that? I'm like, well, no, but they should just know that. I'm like, okay, well, please tell me more. Tell me about your experience. Why did you like living here? What do you like the best about your home? Tell me all the things that you can possibly share about your home, because I want to understand it as intimately as you do. Because when I'm talking to buyers, I want to share those things with them as well. So if you are a seller, make sure your agent understands the wonderful things that you just adore about your home. And of course, you're going to hire an agent that cares and wants to go the extra mile for you. And if you do need an agent to interview, we're happy to help out. I have a referral agent. Her name is Diana. I'll link her information down below. Always a good idea to interview an agent. I have 13 questions that you can download in my bundle. These 13 questions will help you vet the good ones from the bad ones. So I'm really excited to share this slide with you. I'll put it on the screen. This last year, we actually closed 70 transactions with you out there. We recommended agents for you and they successfully closed homes. And we did this across the nation. So once again, if you're interested in having us refer an agent for you, we'd be happy to do so. We're here to help. The link's down below. Number 10 is, are you a real estate agent? I know that sounds like a silly question, but it is a disclosure that we have to provide if you are selling your home and you hold a real estate license. Now, there are a lot of people that have real estate license out there. They're not practicing full time, but if you are selling your home and you have that accreditation, you do need to disclose that. So don't forget to tell your listing agent that. Number 11 is, you're going to ask your listing agent to provide those seller disclosures up front. Okay, what do I mean by that? In all the states, the seller is required to provide disclosures, any knowledge they know about the home. So it could be things like, you know, hey, tell me about the upgrades, or, you know, tell me about the plumbing issues. Let me know if there's been any floods. Okay, you have to disclose everything you know about the property on the seller disclosure form. It's very time consuming, so you want to take your time in filling it out. Sometimes you have to do a little research. Now, if your listing agent isn't providing that, you can just get a blank piece of paper and start your own disclosures. But I promise you, you're going to thank me if you do this ahead of time, because when you get under contract, you have, at least in California, you have 7 days to hand over your seller disclosures. You don't have time to sit down and, you know, fill these things out properly. You're trying to figure out the moving truck, and you're trying to figure out, I hope we pass an inspection. Your brain's running 100 miles an hour. The last thing you want to do is sit down and do those disclosures. So get ahead of it, okay? Ask your agent to provide those ahead of time. Okay, the very last thing is, right before you put your house on the market, you're going to go around with your camera and you're going to video or take pictures of the condition of the home. You also want to document what's in the home. Something is very valuable. Of course, you're going to take all those valuables down, but you want to document the condition of your home before you put it on the market. Okay. We got a bonus. This is a really good one. A lot of agents don't know this either. In MLS, your agent will fill out all these details in MLS. And one of the fields they fill out is the inclusion and exclusion area. So, you know, the seller wants to include the washer and dryer, but they want to exclude the bathroom mirrors and the chandelier. And it's put out there in the whole public. Now, what you have to understand about MLS, it's not guaranteed. In fact, every MLS at the bottom, they say this little thing. It says something like, oh, by the way, we think everything here is accurate, but we're not guaranteeing it. So we're going to recommend that you do your own investigation and your own due diligence. That MLS, there is nothing legally binding in that MLS poop sheet, okay? The only thing legal binding is what's in that contract. Please remember this. If you want to include or exclude anything, you put it in the contract, okay? Just because you exclude or include something in MLS doesn't mean that it's legally binding. So you got to make sure your listing agent's writing in there, oh yeah, we want to exclude the bathroom mirrors and exclude the chandelier, and we're going to include that washer and dryer. If it's not in the contract, you're out of luck. You guys understand the significance of that? Now, a lot of agents will say, well, we already disclosed that we were going to include or exclude these items. The buyer should know. Buyer doesn't have to know. If it's not in the contract, it's not legally binding. So all the questions we discussed today, I created a form that I'm going to give to my own clients, and I'm going to be nice enough and give you a copy as well. So you can download it down below, just fill it out all the answers to these questions, hand it to your listing agent, and they are going to be blown away. They're going to be so well prepared, and you're going to be giving very accurate information to your buyer. Guarantee you they will appreciate it, and it will help the process go much smoother. All right, thanks so much for watching my video. If you got any benefit, please smash the like button. And you know I'm trying to get to 100,000 subscribers this year, so please help a girl out. All right, you guys, let's make 2025 the best year ever. And guess what? I'll see you in the next one.